can I just say how proud I am of myself? Because I created that entire intro, the waiting screen. Hi, Angel.
Hi, Angel.
From scratch in Canva in under 30 minutes.
Yeah, you did.
I did it. I was like looking for pre-made like countdown stream starting intros. And I was like, you know what? I bet I could make one. I think it would be okay.
You done good, baby.
Okay, so I'm going to turn up my iPad real quick, make sure we can hear us. Okay, we can. Okay, good. We're going off the same settings we had last time. I'm hoping everything's working good.
We look good. We sound good. We're doing this.
If anybody has any lag, let us know. But I think we're okay. Okay, are you ready to start?
I'm ready to start.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a bit of overspending already.
Yes.
I know, shame on us.
I know. We're impulsive.
We had a little bit overspending with groceries.
Yeah.
A little bit with dining out because we took the kiddos out for a drive today, so we spent a little bit of money.
Mm-hmm.
I had my Ipsy subscriptions go through. They go through on the 1st of the month. We needed new shoes.
Yeah.
And Cody needed some stuff for work, for medical dental.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing we always do is cover our overspending. Oh, and if you're new here, which I think most people watching the live stream will not be new here, but some of you watching the replay might be.
You never know. Some people might not, or might click in to see what Budgets Live is all about. So if you happen to be new here, I'm Cody. This is Val. We've been married for a hot minute, and we've been doing finances and so forth basically the whole time. And working our way towards debt freedom, financial freedom, maybe fire one day. I don't know. We're not going real fast about it if we are. But this is where we budget our bi-weekly paychecks.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Yes. It's much easier to run a marathon if you're not trying to sprint.
But yeah, so if you're new here, we do these Budget With Us videos every month, twice a month. We've just switched over to a live format, so we'll see how long we keep this up for.
And we also love coffee.
Yes.
It's like a keystone piece of our personalities.
And the software that you see up on the screen is called YNAB, which is an acronym for You Need a Budget, and we'll leave a link down below if you want to check it out and try it for yourself for free. I highly recommend it. This will change the way you look at money and how you handle it. Mm-hmm. I budgeted for years before I came across YNAB, and I'll tell you there's no other app that does it like YNAB does.
Yeah, if you've been in the personal finance space for a hot minute, you've probably heard of cash envelopes. Something Dave Ramsey is a big proponent of. It's worked very well for a lot of people. In the modern world, cash envelopes can be a giant pain in the butt because sometimes the cash envelope is at home, but you're out shopping right now and, oh, hey, here's this thing I've been needing that's on sale, and then you got to move money around. It's a huge pain. YNAB is essentially digital cash envelopes.
Mm-hmm. It makes my life so much easier. Our life. My life. So much easier. So we get paid again on the 15th. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover everything up until the 15th of the month. And then whatever we have left after we pay for the other stuff, we'll come back and address the bills. So the first half of the month, speak Val, spit it out.
Use your words, baby.
Is going to be the important things, like half of our month of groceries, for example. Yeah. So $250 a week is what I had in here. I don't think I'm going to put in $500, but maybe like $400 should be enough for the next 2 weeks.
Sure.
For now?
No idea.
I think $400 for now should be good. We'll do all of the diapers and wipes.
Mm-hmm.
Gas, probably $200 because we got a bit of driving to do.
Yeah.
Maybe like $40 for coffee.
Sure.
I think should be okay. And then dining out, maybe another 100.
Yeah.
For now. Family fun, 60.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Mom's coming out. It'll be nice if we do something. Maybe rent a movie or whatever.
Yeah. And then Cody, you get some of your spending money. We could do half of it, so $150.
Okay.
And I've already basically spent all of mine. So if we got $150 each, that leaves me with $10. Yay!
What you gonna do with all your money, babe?
I don't know. Big spender. Okay, so we have 116 left, so we're going to take care of a few more of our bills. I think that would be our priority.
Yep.
And we'll just put the other 14. Actually, no, what I want to start doing with that, I think, is contributing to our moving fund.
Yeah.
When we have like random spare change. I mean, either way, we have a goal of $500 a month.
Yeah.
But so when we get paid on the 15th, we would have enough off of one check to fund the rest of this.
Nice.
And then the last little bit that we get towards the end of the month can go to upping our sinking funds.
Nice.
It was quick. That was easy. YNAB makes this so easy.
It really, really does. And now that's all our budgeting done. Actually, one thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, go for it.
We were watching that video about the emergency fund versus paying a month ahead. So I was thinking it would be a good idea to have like a base emergency fund just in case, like, you know, you blow a tire or something like that. And we need a...
Like what we used to call the slush fund.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because we were keeping a substantial emergency fund, like a Cody got laid off at work emergency fund, which is essentially what paying several months ahead is. So I wonder if maybe we shouldn't just keep like an emergency fund of like $500 or $1,000 or something like that.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. The savings, like 5% of every time we get paid, 5% automatically gets transferred to a savings account that we don't look at that's off budget.
Yeah.
So I figure as long as we get really good at keeping the true expenses in our budget and using these when we need them, and not touching this account, that would serve as like that slush fund.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking maybe like less of a slush fund, but more like just, you know, $500, $1,000 that we keep on hand in case something goes haywire and we need money, and then start putting anything over and above that into paying months and months ahead. Because like by the time we're 3 months ahead, that's you know, still 12 to 15 grand cash.
But
liquid.
could we still not use that just as our savings account? Because this isn't going into investments or Wealthsimple or anything like that. Like, it's just our savings account, but it's off budget. That way we're not tempted to steal from it.
Yeah, we are tempted to steal from it quite frequently.
Yeah, because every time we've had it in here, it was like we'd overspend and we'd be like, okay, well, I guess we'll cover dining out of the slush fund, you know, which would be the $500 to $1,000 that we kept aside. I know
just
there's
knocked
kids
over plastic ice cream.
There's kids' toys all under the table
life.
here. I mean, it's up to you. If you want me to move it back on budget, I can, and we can stop transferring out of our account. I just worry about us spending it.
Well, I'm thinking if we're several months ahead and we're being realistic with our budget, then there shouldn't really be any need to steal from future months, you know?
No, this isn't stealing from future months. This gets transferred from our checking account to our savings account.
Yes.
And then it doesn't show up anywhere in YNAB. Because right now we have a habit. I don't mind putting it back into the budget, but I think we should wait until we've built a healthy habit around not touching it. Okay. Is what I'm saying. But if you want me to move it back into the budget, I can.
Well, I feel like mostly the reason that we end up stealing from future months is because we've either underfunded things in an effort to pay farther months ahead, or just been irresponsible. But if we can get ourselves to a place where, you know, the budget is realistic and everything is covered, then there's no reason to steal for months ahead unless there's like a big emergency, in which case all hands on deck, you know.
And just to be clear, this is separate from the months ahead that we would be budgeting for.
Yeah, I'm saying for right now we should not do them both. Build up just like a base $500 in case, and then work on paying several months ahead. And then once we're several months ahead, we can stash harder into like investments or something.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Right now, the bulk of it is going to our moving fund.
Yeah.
That's why I keep saying, like, this time next year will be the time where we can actually start focusing on, like, investing money and saving more and building up sinking funds. Because right now it's very much like, okay, we got to save up. We're going to get ready for the move. We got to pay for the moving truck.
Yeah, there's a bunch of big stuff coming down the pipeline.
Because, like, realistically, if we look at this, I guess it's not really a great accurate representation because we've already spent some of this, but, like, around $800 a month right now is what we're setting aside for sinking funds. But then come August after we move and we're not putting away for the moving fund anymore, then it's only $300 a month. I forgot the point that I was trying to make already. But the point is that like we have money that we can set aside for these things, but I'm trying to be really intentional with it, and then also remove our likelihood of spending the emergency fund by moving it off budget. Because even the other day when we overspent a bit of money, I was like, well, I guess I could just pull out of Christmas and car maintenance, and I didn't. I left the money in there, but like typically that's what we do.
Yeah.
And then Christmas rolls around and we're like, oh, we have no money.
Yeah.
He just says, I might be controversial, but I use a 0% credit card as my emergency fund. Is it 0% all the time, or is it just like a...
Hey, welcome to the club. You get a couple of months free.
That's what we used to do, and that's how we got in trouble. But now everybody's situation is not the same as ours. A lot of people have steady, stable, predictable jobs, whereas Cody is very project-based. This is the first time he's had a job this long in many years.
This last year is the longest I've been employed basically since I started my career. Mm-hmm. So, yay.
Yeah. So for us, it's like cash is king. Like we used to have tens of thousands of dollars on credit cards that we didn't utilize at all. It was always a zero balance. It was paid off in full every month. And then Cody got laid off from work. And because we have such high living expenses, it took 3 months and all of those cards were maxed out and we had no way to repay them.
When we first started trying to pay off debt, we had some credit card debt and we were like, all right, scorched earth, let's get this credit card to zero. Mm-hmm. And then right around the time the credit card got to zero, we had no savings because scorched earth. And then work would go away for, month and a half, whatever, between projects. And then we'd rack up the credit card because we had no savings. And then once we had a little bit more steady income, all right, scorched earth, let's get this credit card to zero. And it was just a repeating cycle, which was hugely frustrating. Because, the hard sprint scorched earth would have been great once, but a guy only wants to do wind sprints for so long before he's just like, fuck it.
So he says here, I have the Wells Fargo Reflect 21 months 0%. Now, in Canada, we don't have 0% cards unless it's like an introductory offer, and then usually you get it for like 12 months, and then that's it.
Yeah.
At most, and then you pay whatever your interest rate is. My thoughts on that is, I guess, and to each their own. I know for Cody and I would be like a hard no on that for us personally, because I know what our habits are like and what our lifestyle is like, and what our pitfalls are. But even if you feel like, okay, I'm comfortable using this card if, something happens on the car and it's like a expensive repair that's like $500 or $700 or whatever, I can put it on my card and I'm confident that I can pay it back within that 21 months. Fine. But I would still encourage you to set money aside for an emergency fund, because if you're going to, let's say it was a $600 repair and you were going to pay it off over 6 months, that's $100 a month. You could just be putting away $100 every single month into an emergency fund, so that if and when an emergency arises, you have the cash on hand instead of worrying about trying to pay that $100 every month, or however you want to set it up. But again, that's just from our personal experience of like the last 9 years of this cycle of like relying on credit cards and then paying them off and getting out of debt, and then getting back into debt, and then paying them off and getting out of debt, and then getting back into debt.
It's very different if you have the money on hand and the cash flow or in the credit card is just like this is immediately liquid right now and I gotta like transfer something over and it's gonna take 3 days. Okay, that's one thing. For us, the credit card was our savings account because we burned down our savings account and bent everything towards paying the credit card off. And then the way the timing worked out was that we'd get the credit card paid off, and then like a couple weeks later work would dry up, or the project would end, or something would happen corporately and the job would go away for one reason or another. And so we had no savings, so it was back onto the credit card, and it was just this vicious cycle for us that ate so much of our money for so long. Because interest is a bitch, you guys. Yeah.
So Angel says, yes, we're trying to pay down some debt, but the cash flow we gain will just go towards future expenses next year. Becomes very overwhelming, saving, paying down debt, and still wanting to live life in between. And that's what Cody and I went through, because we would make we were big fans of Dave Ramsey at the time, and so we did the whole Gazelle Intensity, Scorched Earth, and we would pay down our credit cards like thousands of dollars in just a few months, right?
Like I'd get back to work and we'd knock a $20,000 credit card down in like 3.5 months. And then at the start of the 4th month, work would dry up, and we're going to put groceries on the credit card, we're going to put gas on the credit card, we're going to put oil change on the credit card, we have no room on the credit card. Oh, thank God there's a job coming up.
And so what would happen is for that 3 or 4 months, we were so miserable because we weren't living life. We literally had nothing left over to do anything. We also threw every extra cent we had at those credit cards, so we didn't have any sinking funds, we didn't have any savings, emergency fund, nothing. The credit card was it.
It was just pay off the credit card, and then, you know, after that we can worry about the other things once this immediate fire was put out. But the fire kept reigniting.
And so Cody and I, you'll notice that we make our minimum payments on all of our, we never miss a bill, we make all of our minimum payments. We've got like a system working, but we don't throw any extra money at debt right now. Our priority right now is, one, fixing our impulsive, irresponsible spending that we are aware we have.
So if you don't know, a wise philosopher whose name escapes me once said, I feel like he was a comedian, might have been Ron White, pretty sure it was Ron White, if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you got to do is stop digging, which is what we're working on doing, because we are prone to dig, you guys.
So fixing our habits is one. 2, there's a lot of things about our lifestyle that we're not ready to give up. We don't want to give up. We've done it before. We were miserable doing it. Some of those things are experiences with the kids. Like some things we've cut back. We used to go to the mountains every year. We haven't been now in 4 years almost. But we still like to dine out. We like to go out with the kids. We like to go see our friends. We don't spend an obscene amount on like clothing or frivolous spending, but there's certain things about our lifestyle that we did not want to give up. And so we choose to prioritize that and sinking funds over debt repayment because we want to live life while we're paying off debt.
Yeah, I would hate to, you know, the cycle that we'd been living for the last several years of just constantly trying to sprint through this marathon, being exhausted, hating life. I would hate to get to be like 70 years old and be like, yes, I'm finally out of debt, and my kids hate me and my life sucks and my back is a mess and I can't do any of the things I've ever wanted to do.
Stephanie says, I agree, everyone is unique. I am a cash savings person. I couldn't handle going in and out of debt. It gives me anxiety. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Cody and I think, are very much trying to move ourselves towards cash savings.
Yeah.
Well, cash, it would be in the bank, but, you know, liquidated cash savings in the bank kind of thing, have a big pile of money, because for us, the feast or famine cycle, the in and out of debt, it's very anxiety inducing, and it's very discouraging, especially for Cody, who right now supports a family of 4 entirely on his own.
Even before the kids came along, there'd be so many times where I would go out of town for like 12 or 15 weeks to do a string of shutdowns, and then come home after 12 straight weeks of 12-hour nights, just beat right to shit and be like, babe, I'm finally home, let's go to the keg, let's have a nice dinner, and her to be like, we can't afford it. Like, excuse me?
Because literally everything was going to pay down the credit cards.
Yeah.
And then
the car, and then the credit cards again.
Yeah, and then Cody would get laid off, and then the credit cards would go back up. So, like, I get it. I'm in that mindset of, like, cash is king. I'm a natural spender. I'm very impulsive. Cody's a little more of a natural saver, but he's not really, like, hands-on in the finances. He is, like, mentally and conversational-wise, but, like, hands-on in YNAB, not really.
I was joking around the other day where it's like, I will make the decisions around here. I just don't actually know how to enact any of them.
Says, I park my credit expenses and cash flow in my credit card, which saves me on interest. Honestly, I don't sweat it. Might be a mindset. And I mean, I think there's no one size fits all for finances, right? Like, everybody has different habits, different mindsets, different.
Yeah, and a lot of people use that exact strategy to get their credit, their credit score up, and get bank points and stuff. Because I know a lot of banks do phenomenal things with points that people can take advantage of for travel or whatever. But again, that's not putting money on your credit card. That's your regular budget. You're not buying your groceries, doing your car, doing your gas and everything, and then using the credit card on other shit. You're using the credit card for your life and then keeping up with it, which I see no problem with. And
I will say one of the things that YNAB does really well is how it handles credit cards. Because previously, Cody and I would use the credit card as, like, we'd just go buy our groceries, our gas, whatever we needed, and we would just pay it off every time we got paid. But we were using the money on the credit card, not our own money. And I'm going to explain this so that it makes sense at the end here. So what would happen then is when Cody got laid off from a job, we would have that balance of like $1,200 or $1,000 or whatever from our spending over the last few weeks. Regular spending that we could afford to do that we always paid off in full, but now he's laid off and now we don't have a paycheck. And we spent money that we didn't yet have, technically. So when he loses his job, we can't pay the credit card. Now in YNAB, what happens is you can still use your credit card and buy groceries, buy gas and whatever. But if I put groceries on the credit card, and this line doesn't have anything available, like if I don't have money in here for groceries, I'm not going to spend money on the credit card because I wouldn't be able to spend money in my bank account. So we still spend money on the credit card, pay it off every week or every other week or whatever it winds up being. But YNAB will not let you spend that money. And if you do spend it, it's going to give you a little alert saying like, hey, you spent money you don't have. You need to find this money somewhere in your budget to cover what you've just put on your credit card.
Yeah, because in an ideal world, you would have like your $500 cash money in your hand, and then you would buy groceries on your credit card to do the credit score things, and then use the cash in your hand to pay the credit card and bring the balance back up. What we were doing was we had no cash in hand, so we would dig a hole with the credit card and then fill that hole in with the next paycheck.
Yes.
But when the next paycheck is gone, you now have a hole.
That's a great analogy. I love that. So Angel says, other than Dave Ramsey, every other financial channel says to save 1 month at least of expenses, and then others say to have at least 3 months before paying down debt. And I'm like, that's going to take a while. And that's how Cody and I felt, because we're like, that's going to take forever to get 3 months of an emergency fund saved up.
Yeah, but the thing we found is like that's very much what we're doing right now, and it can be so frustrating because we're like, the car balance isn't going down. The car balance isn't going down. That the car is basically our only like major debt currently left, and it's like the balance isn't going down. The balance isn't going down. The balance isn't going down. But realistically, what would end up happening, at least for us, is if the car balance went down, but then that money was no longer available to us and something came up, and now we've had to dig a hole with a credit card or with loans from a family member or something. So there can be quite a bit of security in having the buffer of that 1 to 3 months, depending on the stability of your job situation.
And I will say that the Budget Nerds just did a really great podcast episode on this, and you can find it on YouTube as well to watch, where they talk about emergency fund versus getting a month ahead in YNAB, specifically for people who use YNAB. If you get a month ahead in your budget, that is a 1 month emergency fund.
Yeah.
Right, and so you have that cushion.
It's largely semantics because, like I was saying to Val, if we're like, I want to keep a little bit of money on hand just for if something comes up immediately. But realistically, if we're 3 months ahead in our budget and the car explodes, that's still 3 months worth of cash money available to us that we can use for whatever. There's no judge gonna come down from the Supreme Court that's like, I'm sorry, this money was budgeted for December, you can't use it to fix your car.
Yeah. And I think, like Cody said, it depends on your situation. And I mean, for Cody and I think we've kind of settled on the 3 months is what we're comfortable with. If we're 3 months ahead, we feel comfortable because we're only a one income family. I don't work anymore. I could go back to work, but we've kind of made the decision as a family that I stay at home with the kids. So Cody is our sole provider of income. So if we lose his income, we have to be able to sustain ourselves until he can get back into work again. And if it was just Cody and I, not a huge deal, but now we have 2 kids. They're 1 and 3, so...
Because we had it before where it was just Val and I, and Val was working, and I was pretty okay to, ride EI for a while and be a kept house husband and bring baked goods into the office and stuff.
Yeah. So, like, if you're...
Homemade baked goods, by the way.
If you're a young single person who's still living at home with your parents, you might only need a 1 month emergency fund, because if you lose your job, chances are your parents are not going to kick you out on the street for not paying rent. Hopefully, so you have a little bit more leeway there. So I think everybody's situation is so, it varies so much, and that's why I don't like the whole one size fits all. I think everybody should have cash on hand. I think everybody should have some kind of emergency fund, but what that's going to look like will be different for everybody.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, methods are many, principles are few. Methods change, principles never do. In principle, you want to have very low debt, cash on hand, and you want to be invested and diversified. In practice, the actual methods for how you achieve that is going to vary wildly across people, countries, families, homes, one side of the street to the other. It's an infinite number of possibilities.
Stephanie says 1 month ahead is a minimum for me. Takes away the cash flow issues to where I don't have to schedule bills. 100% recommend Budget Nerds. Yeah, and that's what Cody and I are trying to work towards, because there was a point where we were like a month and a half or almost 2 months ahead in our budget. And there was just no stress, because I knew that when the first of the month hit, all of my money that we needed for that month, whether it was groceries, gas, rent, bills, it didn't matter when they came out or when we had to spend the money, I knew the money was there. And that's so secure. Yeah. Like, such a secure feeling.
Like I said, the ideal for us would be to work towards 3 months ahead and to be very generous with it. Because, like, right now we're still sort of penny pinching, where it's like, you know, oh, we can squeeze groceries a little bit to get a little more money for somewhere else. Oh, we can, you know, squeeze this a little bit to get a little more money for somewhere else. And we're not great at sticking to that, if I'm being honest. That's why we always have overspending. So if we can get to where that's not a thing anymore, then it's just like, we have no overspending, so we can just auto assign our money for the 4th month out, and then everything over and above that, invest it, light it on fire, give it away, whatever.
And I took my own advice today too, because we have an online course that we created called Ahead in 30, which talks about how to create a realistic budget and how to create a budget that works for you and based on your personal values and your goals and what's fitting for you. And one of the things that I talk about, or that we talk about in there, is to be realistic with your budget, right? Don't do what sounds good. Do based on your actual behavior, where you're at now. You can make course correction along the way, but if you're not budgeting for how you're currently living, you can't just do a 180 and go from like $400 a month dining out to $100 dining out. It's not going to happen. We're not likely anyways. So I went through and I looked at our reports and I was like, how much are we actually spending on groceries over the last 3 months? How much are we actually spending on gas? How much do we actually spend on dining out? And so I had to tweak a lot of these, and a lot of them went up, and I didn't like that, because I was like, that's money we could be saving. But I also know that realistically, if we don't have a budget that's true to our current lifestyle and our spending habits, it's not going to matter, because we'll just overspend anyways and steal from sinking funds anyways. So we might as well have a clear picture of what we're spending.
Exactly. But it's still a very hard habit to break. Like, we're still very much that, like, and it's going to take a really long time for me to get out of the mindset of it, where it's just like, we can't do that, you know? I'm still very much like trying to get better and more realistic, but I'm still just like, I don't know, babe, like, we can't be buying that for the kids. There's a cheaper alternative. We can go off brand. And it's like, whatever, it's a snack that they like, who cares? You know?
It's kind of, it's funny, because it's a I noticed that we do this in two opposite ends of the spectrum, where sometimes we do pinch pennies, where we're like, oh, we could get it a few dollars cheaper on no name brand or whatever, or, you know, we pinch pennies in little ways, or we say no to certain things. But then there's other things where it's like, we really want it, and we have this mindset of like, we work too hard and we deserve it, and like, we spend money that we really shouldn't.
I just bought shoes at Walmart today. My old shoes were literally falling apart at the seams. And I just could not make myself buy new shoes, because I bought this pair for $70. I'm not paying $170 for the 2023 model of the same damn shoe. And I just could not do it. But the last time we were at Costco, I'm like, obviously we're going to spend $300 on steak.
But again, it comes back to priorities too, right? Like right now, your diet is a priority to you. Your health and fitness is a priority to you.
It turns out I can't show up that well for my family if I'm falling apart at the seams, so I'm trying to stitch myself back together somewhat.
And that's also why I think it's important not to judge people for how they spend your money. Because, like for me, I like steak, but I don't like steak to the extent you like steak.
That was a misspeak. Always judge people for how they spend your money, never judge them for how they spend their money.
Did I mess that up? I'm sorry. But like, it would be really easy for me as a wife to be like, Cody, you're spending hundreds of dollars in steak every month. Like, that's not one of my values and priorities. So it would be easy for me to be like, I feel like that's wasteful. I feel like we could be eating cheaper. And we talk about this a lot in like married money.
That's a very easy trap to fall into, especially for a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife. Like, there's an older couple I used to know. I work with him, and he was he was a little freer with the money and the finances, and, you know, he'd the good tips at the restaurant, to go out and eat with the guys, go have a drink, whatever, and whatever it was what it was. She was very much like, what are you doing with my retirement fund? And it created
that's kind of harsh.
A non-insignificant amount of tension in their household.
Yeah, Cody and I have learned to just keep an open line of communication as to what our priorities are and try our best within reason to support each other emotionally and financially with what our goals are.
Yeah. Admittedly, we could be doing a lot better, but Val is very impulsive, and I'm just like, obviously she wants it, we're going to do it.
Yeah, Cody's very much a yes man to me.
Yeah.
I see Angel and Stephanie here talking about the cost of daycare. We are lucky because we're in Alberta, in Canada here, and it was last year.
It's like the only subsidy we actually qualify for anything.
Yeah, so last year they introduced a new federal and provincial subsidy. So daycare went from costing like $1,200 a month for one child down to like $400 or less per child. I mean, it depends on where you go.
Yeah.
Some are as low as like $200 a month, some are as high as $600 a month, but it's so much more affordable. We actually just pulled the kids out of daycare. Yesterday was Gunner's last day and they're both home.
It was so sad. I cried. I'm a softie.
Yeah, so like on the one hand, we're sad for many reasons because the kids obviously made friends there. They loved their teachers. They had a lot of fun. It was stimulating. It also gave Cody and I a bit of time, you know, together while the kids were at daycare for us to do adult things. Yeah. If you have toddlers, which I think a couple of you do, you know how busy it is, how loud it is, how distracting it is, how stressful it is to have toddlers.
Even like they're doing their thing while I'm doing my thing. Like, I can't be playing Xbox while Freya's playing iPad because, Daddy, I need you to watch me watch my iPad.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just not all about that trash truck life, you know?
Yeah. I like Trash Truck. It's cute.
I mean, yeah, but
part of it...
we've seen the whole series like 4 times.
Yeah. Part of it, too, is when we took them out of daycare, it's like, oh, this is awesome. We're going to save $700 a month. Not realizing that now I have to feed them at home.
Now we have to be the ones to do all the shit the daycare was doing.
And we have to entertain them, so we're buying more food now because the daycare used to feed them. That was included with the cost of daycare. And... obviously, we can't just let the kids sit indoors all the time, which is another reason why we're moving, because we're in an apartment and having 2 toddlers in a small apartment,
guys,
especially through winter. I get
stir crazy in the apartment.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being someone who's just like, their brain is... You know that movie Over the Hedge where they got the ADHD squirrel and you gave him like an energy drink and like he was faster than light and you could like watch the lasers crawling across the screen? That's what kids are like, man. I cannot imagine being that person trapped in a place that I feel is too restricting.
Yeah, I just lost my train of thought. What was I going to say there? Entertaining kids? No, it's gone. Mom brain. Stephanie says, hats off to staying home. I couldn't handle it if I didn't have my grown-up time, even if that means working. Believe me, I've had that conversation with Cody where I'm like, maybe I'll go back to work just to not be a mom for a few hours out of the day. Before I had kids, I didn't get it. Like, working moms was like... you're working basically just like half your income or more goes to daycare. I was like, why wouldn't you just stay home with your kids?
There were so many parents that I was just like, what are you doing? Like, you have this job so that you can have your kids in daycare so you can come here, and they're like, worth it.
I totally used to be one of those people where it's like, you're letting someone else raise your kids and don't you want to be there for them? Isn't it heartbreaking to drop them off? And like, to a certain extent, I still agree with all of that. But now I have a whole newfound respect for stay-at-home moms because I'm like, I did it for the first like 2 years that we had Freya, and then at like just over 2 years we put her into daycare, and she's 3.5 now. And then Gunnar went in when he was 14 months old. We put him in daycare. And so I've done the stay-at-home thing, and then I've had the freedom of having kids in daycare, and now they're about to come home again. And I'm like, I'm excited to see my kids. I love my kids. I'm also like overwhelmed. I am overstimulated.
Yeah.
I am stressed out.
The thing about trying to be a good parent is that you find out that maybe your parents weren't so good.
Yeah.
And like...
I'm going through a lot of like inner child healing and
there's a lot of having to like reparent myself because there's a lot of stuff that my kids do that if I would have done that, black and blue. And like my kids aren't black and blue, but like the first instinct is though to, you know, you'll go to bed or I'll put you to bed.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Which isn't going to help anything, but goddamn it, I want to yell. And I don't, but like the struggle is real.
This is the other thing too, like with kids going to school, I'm very on the fence about that because I've always wanted to homeschool the kids. I've always wanted to homeschool my kids. Cody and I have talked about this even before we got married. Before we even talked about having kids, we were like, we want to homeschool our kids. Yeah. It was a shared value. And now I'm like, School kind of sounds like free daycare to me.
That's exactly what it was supposed to be.
It is.
But also by the time the kids are older and slightly more independent and have their own friends and hobbies and stuff like that, and like we're gamers, we can turn them into gamers.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, you guys will see all of this in the coming years because we share a lot of this on YouTube. And I'd like to maybe start doing the vlogs again. We did do vlogs there for like almost a whole year, I think. We did them for 9 months.
I really enjoyed editing those. But like, I guess maybe we could start doing the vlogs in the house again when we're like doing stuff because...
you guys should let us know in the comments if we bring the vlogs back. Do you want to see them? Because we'll be like gardening... and
building things,
doing stuff with the kids, attempting to homeschool.
I'm gonna try find myself some like hand tools, power tools, whatever, and I kind of want to build stuff. I enjoyed doing that as a kid, and I'm gonna start building stuff for the house, stands, shelves, so forth, etc. And if I do half decent, I might get Val to put some of them up on like Marketplace or some junk while I'm at work. I'll spend a couple nights on my days off building things, and then Val can sell it.
And explore some more side hustles.
Yeah.
I'd like to revisit my Etsy store and see if I can increase the sales we get on there.
Yeah, because it's disappointing how consistent Etsy is. Like, almost every day we get a sale or two on Etsy, but it's like a couple bucks.
Yeah, well, because they're all like just little budgeting downloads, like digital downloads and templates and stuff like that, so they don't sell for much. I admire all the stay-at-home parents because I go crazy when school's on break and I have kids all day. Right. I'm so for homeschooling after elementary when they understand more with the way schools are going. Homeschooling sounds really appealing. I know that's our concern too. Like, I liked school, but I do worry a little bit about the curriculum. And the classroom sizes are getting really big and the kids aren't getting the same amount of support.
There were things that I really enjoyed about school when I was going there, but I also felt incredibly left behind with it because, like, they have to progress at a certain pace. So if you get like a 70 on the test, you understand 70% of the material, then you're moving on to something else. Your foundation for the next thing is 70% of what you need to be in order to understand the next thing, and you fall behind it like crazy. And then there was stuff that I was really good at that I could have blasted through in like 20 minutes that I had to do the homework and the thing and spend all the time on it that was then not available to me to use on things I struggled with. So I'd have benefited a lot more from the type of educational environment where I had a little more personalization, which is something I want to provide to the kids because, I mean, the school system did me dirty, if I'm being honest. I was the kid that had to study 6 hours a night just to not fail.
We often talk about going back to like full-time RV living or off-grid living or something like that. So homeschooling would be valuable, the flexibility of not having them in a school. Stephanie says, a lot of people ask me how I can work and be a parent. And I ask, I don't know how I can be just a parent. Having a separate identity is very valuable to me. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that in my soul because I feel like I'm just a mom. It's been, Freya's 3.5. I've been a mom for 3.5 years, which is not a long time, but it feels like forever. And I can't even remember who I was before kids.
Yeah.
And not so much that I feel lost, but I feel like I'm very aware that a lot of my identity right now is wrapped up in being a parent.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where Valerie is in all of this.
Yeah. And I do the same thing. I mean, I feel like Val's a little more shackled to it than I am, but I'm very much like, I am the dad, and I'm trying to build my identity around that so that I can like do a good job at it because that's how I work. But yeah, having the separation is nice.
Also, Stephanie says she likes being able to interact with the live stream, and I love it. That's one of the reasons why Cody and I were like, we should try a live stream because we're very chatty. We're kind of casual. We're chill.
Yeah.
We're not super polished, but we really enjoy.
What are you talking about?
You're so shiny up there. We really enjoy like the interaction, and we love our community on YouTube.
Yeah.
I feel like our other communities and other spaces, and we're not as active anymore, but like on TikTok and on Instagram, a lot of that was centered around like our life coaching when we got our life coaching certifications and trying to make a business out of that. And I feel like the platforms got very
it started feeling a lot like work in the bad way. Well, it was like, we got to show up on Instagram. Oh, we got to do this for TikTok. Oh, we got to do this. Oh, we got to write this. Thank God we finally get to do a YouTube video.
Stop kicking the ice cream toy.
Tell me how to live my life.
But yeah, it just started to feel like really transactional, really businessy. And like we made a lot of great friends over there too, and we still have people we keep in touch with. But YouTube has always been like our calm, casual, fun, love to hang out group of people. And we've really enjoyed that. So we like doing the lives. The identity issue used to bother me. I've been becoming my old self now. Just with kids, I'm introverted as well, so that probably helps. Yeah. Live, no editing. That's also a huge plus. Not that I did a ton of editing before.
Yeah, the bulk of the editing was largely like copy paste intro outro.
Yeah, basically I would cut out like a few dead spots. Trim the starts, trim the end, add in our intro and outro, and that was it. I can do editing. It's just not my favorite thing in the world to do. Which is funny because Cody actually really enjoys editing, and he is not tech savvy at all. So I'm not even sure how you got into that.
I found this app on, I can't even remember where I heard from it. I can't remember even what it was called now. But I found this app that I just used on my phone that was intuitive enough for me to do the vlogs. And I enjoyed that. That was fun. And plus it was like I get to look back at the week and like relive all the memories that I was capturing. And
it took the stress off me because if I had to edit it, I was likely to film less because I didn't want to have to go through all the footage and edit it all.
Yeah,
whereas when Cody took it over,
I was just ADHD enough to be like, I will take 1,000,000 shots of this to get the lighting right.
So when Cody was like, I'll just edit the vlogs from now on, I was like, cool, and I started filming a little more.
And I still don't know how to do like the intro outro stuff, so I just handed her the finished product and was like, put the cover on the book.
Yes, it was totally a joint effort. I remember that. I do actually miss doing our vlogs.
Yeah,
it was fun because Cody would edit the whole thing, like 90% of it, and I would go through and add the intro, I would add the outro, and I would maybe add on like some text or a few other like just little minor things, and that was it. And I really, really enjoyed that. We should maybe start doing that again. Okay. It is a lot of extra work.
We're going to need better phones.
Our phones are fine for now.
For now, yeah, but I mean, that's
Don't tempt me. I will buy a new phone.
I know you will.
In September when the new ones come out.
We're going to need 2 phones because I still want the little one.
I don't know if we told you guys, but we sold our 14 Pro Maxes that we had, and we went to the 13
Great
minis.
phone. Loved it. It was amazing. But now we have the iPhone 13 mini, and like it's so nice.
I do miss my camera on the 14 Pro.
I do wish it performed slightly better, but the size is just wonderful.
I'm very sad they don't make the iPhone minis anymore.
Yeah.
It was a love-hate relationship. Some people loved them, some people hated them. Not enough people loved them.
Right.
But that's okay.
Oh well, it is what it is.
I'm pretty sure we spent like 10 minutes budgeting and the last half hour of this chatting.
Yeah, that's pretty much how we live our life.
So thank you guys for hanging out with us.
It was fun hanging out.
My goal is to keep these under an hour, so I think we'll probably jump off. Although if there's any questions or anything, you still have an iPhone 7? Good for you.
Whoa.
I don't think I could actually survive a phone that long. I'd probably kill it by then.
Actually, I don't even think the battery would work. One of the guys I work with, he just upgraded to like the 11, and he was so sad that his iPhone 7 finally shit the bed.
There's some things that I like. I still think one of my favorite phones is the iPhone 4. Well, the 4S.
Yeah.
I loved the form factor. I loved the size of it. I loved the way it felt.
I loved that I could get a bulletproof case for it. Like, it wasn't actually bulletproof, but like it was the kind of case that like it came in multiple parts, and you had to like screw things together, and there was like metal fasteners and stuff. And it murdered the reception and the sound quality on calls. But I'm pretty sure that thing could have stopped an artillery shell if I needed it to.
Stephanie says, I would have had an 8, but I had a few mishaps where I left my iPhone on top of the car and ran it over. Do you know how many times I've put something on the top of our car, never to see it again? I've lost like 3 coffee cups at this point.
Do you know how many times we've left our phone at the park and drove home?
Just once. That was
it's weird
one
that
time.
It happened though.
It's one time. One time I left my phone at the park, and thankfully nobody stole it. Yeah, I always put like I don't do it anymore, but I used to put my coffee cup on top of the car in the mornings when I loaded the kids up into the car for daycare, and then I would forget about it, and I would take off, and I would be like, oh yeah, my coffee cup.
See, I can get away with doing things like that because I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm super forgetful, so I'm always like, what's on the car, what's on this, wallet, watch, everything, okay, we're good.
One day it made such a loud sound tumbling off the back of the car that I was able to pull over and grab it off the side of the road, but yeah, generally I was not that lucky.
Yeah.
I've lost a few.
Oh well, it is what it is.
But yeah, I don't know what time it is where you guys are, but it's 9:45 here, and we're old now, so It's bedtime.
Yeah, I got back problems and my neck is all whacked out again because I did 3 pull-ups yesterday, so I can't look all the way this way anymore.
We might watch one episode of Supernatural because we're currently working through all of that. I've never seen Supernatural before. We're on season 7 now, so.
Yeah. She's digging it.
Yes, I'm enjoying it. What am I hearing? Is our window open to the bedroom?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was like, are one of the kids awake?
God, I hope not.
I was like, no, they're sleeping. We're good.
Yeah. We did trick them into eating a decent amount for supper, though, so hopefully they sleep past 5 tomorrow. That'd be rad.
Yes, put a phone replacement category in your YNAB budget. I used to do that every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have a new phones category. I don't think we have one anymore.
No.
Unless it's under hidden, maybe. No. I used to keep a new phones category because we would buy a new phone It's 10:45 in Texas. Thank you for staying up late and watching.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
That's late. I mean, unless you're already a night owl and your kids don't get up at 5:30 in the morning. And then maybe that's normal for you.
My kids get up at 5:30 in the morning and I'm a night owl.
Yeah, I try to go to bed early now because our kids keep us up early. Mom brain, I can't talk. We're going to bed.
Yeah, we're going to bounce off now, guys. So thanks for hanging out with us. We love you very much. We'll catch you on the next one. And is it payday yet?
It's my favorite one.
Bye.
Bye.